Hello there, today's going to be a book review, but of one that's specifically a little bit older than the last one I did. This one's from 1994, it's called Coffee Will Make You Black by April Sinclair. Due to the content of the book, I actually kind of want to make a couple of disclaimers, just so you know where I stand with this and what's going on. This book not only it takes place in the middle of, but it also involves a lot of the ideas of the civil rights movement, it involves a lot of the emotions, it involves a lot of the stress that was going on, a lot of the events that were going on or taking place during this book, and it's very much an integral part of the book. I just want to let you know that I know, because of the way that I look, I am not going to be able to relate to these characters as fully as someone who has went through this, someone who has experienced racism, and someone who's experienced the lack of civil rights and the need for more of them. I've never experienced that, and I know that. The reason I want to tell you about this book is because I find it an amazing book, and I find the story very compelling, and I find the characters very, very relatable nonetheless to me, and very, very wonderful. I love it. Now that that's out of the way, a little bit of a quicker summary than last time because I tended to ramble on in the last one. Our story starts out with a young black girl named Jean. Everybody calls her Stevie, though. She lives in the south side of Chicago in the middle of the 60s, which is when the civil rights movement was really taking off. She's about 12 years old at the time, and she's a very big nerd. She really loves books. She really loves to learn. She loves her teacher. She loves her classes. But at the same time, she really wants to fit in with the cooler kids. She wants to be able to know what it feels like to be one of the cooler kids. And through several series of events, she eventually becomes part of the cool group. She starts to slack off on her books a little bit. She wants to be more cool. She wants to be part of the group. And as she is part of the cool group, she starts to do more stuff that she didn't want to do before. She didn't feel the need to do because of her religious background, her family's religious background, her mother's tendency to tell her what was right and wrong, and she was like believing her because she's her mother. What else would you do? But eventually an event happens that triggers her to be much more politically active, much more concerned about what was going on around her, and that event was the assassination of this man right back here, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. By the way, if you are ever around Atlanta, this is what I got from the historical square. The square includes the house he was born in, the surrounding houses, the church that he grew up in, the church that was the same church that he co-pastored for a little while, and it's intense. It's very intense, but I got a couple of books at the bookstore, and it's amazing. But anyway, and he oversees my collection of Bibles over there. But anyway, back to the story. After this happened, she's very distraught. Her mother's very distraught. Her family is entirely distraught. It's a terrible blow for everyone in the family personally. And so she sees this as something to motivate her to go on and learn more about what's going on and see how she feels about it and see what she needs to do, see how she feels like she needs to do. And in doing so, she's about 16 at this time. She starts to let her hair grow out naturally. She starts to make it into a fro, which is a very powerful symbol for her in the entirety of the book. It's very, very much something that she needed to do, something that she felt was very powerful, and she stops using skin bleach and all this other stuff. She has a friendship with this nurse in the school that she's been going to her whole life, and this nurse is one of the only people that actually cares about her throughout the entirety of the story. Her friends that are in the cool group are just kind of like that. They're friends in the cool group, and if she does something that's too far out there, they're just kind of like, you crossed the line, we're gonna let you go. With this nurse who is a white woman, she's always there for her, which is a stark contrast to her friends and everybody that surrounds her. So she's like, I'm very hesitant to approach you and make that connection because there's a lot of people that tell me not to trust you, and I don't necessarily trust you fully yet, but I need somebody to talk to. I need somebody to understand me, and I need somebody to understand. Finds a boyfriend, things happen, he's very considerate, he's very nice, but there's stuff that happens, and he's not as good of a person as she originally expected, so she goes back and has a closer connection with the nurse friend that she's had for so long. And she starts to wonder, is she ever going to like guys? Is she ever going to enjoy that? And this nurse has always been here, she's always really liked this nurse, and she's always thought, maybe. And it's a very complex book, and it's the end, towards the end of the book, she's like, obviously she never pins it down or says anything specific, but she leaves it open for that interpretation. Now on to a little bit of critical analysis of the book. It's a very easy book to read. The pages aren't necessarily crowded. There's not a lot of unnecessary words. The sentences are very clean, very clear cut. So there's some stuff that's left out, but it's fine. There's some stuff that's left out, but I don't see. Sometimes she has the occasional part where she doesn't finish a thought or she doesn't completely close down an area, which I don't know if that's necessarily artistic choice or if that's like just because she's inexperienced with this, because this is like her first book, and I don't blame her at all because writing a book is terrifying and having it published is even more terrifying. So I don't blame you if you miss some stuff, because if I wrote a book, I would miss everything. I would forget to send in a draft and it'd just be empty pages sent out. But there are some parts in the book that she doesn't finish his thought. She doesn't necessarily complete the story. And it doesn't necessarily detract all that much from the book for me. It may for somebody else, but it doesn't really detract all that much from the story for me. It's very good with characters. It's very good with development. It's very good with realism in characters' feelings. And the themes are very, very interesting. They're not necessarily easy themes to grasp hold of. She's had a friend ever since she was little who's always one of the nerdy ones with her, but now he's grown up and into somebody else, and he's decided to like front this group of pseudo Black Panthers, but for teenagers in a school. It's kind of scary almost the way that he's explaining this even to the people around him. She's fairly scared of this at the time. It's overall very interesting, and like I said, obviously I can't make any judgments on the movements themselves. I'm not going to make any judgments on the people. I'm just saying that it's a very, very interesting book, and it's a very, very interesting narrative. And the themes are very important, especially today, as they've been for a very long time. And I suggested that you read it. I suggest you read it. I suggest you find it on Amazon, because I found this one in the Goodwill. I'd never heard of it before. I'd never heard of anything like it before. So I just picked it up and I was like, that looks interesting. Then the cover. Look at this cover. It's kind of amazing. I love it. I mean, you may not like it as much. It's amazing. I'll leave you a link in the doobly-doo if you wish to go pick it up on Amazon yourself. And that's all I've got to say about that book, and now on to other things. I'm still reading all the same books I was reading before, but I have gotten a lot farther in all of them, and as soon as I finish with the Spider-Man Chronicles spin-off series, I'm going to try and make an entire video about the Spider-Man Chronicles and then the spin-off series. And I don't know if you'd be interested in the series, but I just really want to put it out there because I really love the series itself. I love the ideas of the series. I love the creatures in the series, and it's a very well thought out, and I love it. But yeah, I'm going to try and finish everything off and try and get some new books going, but so far that's all I've got for you in that front. And something I forgot to mention in the last 2 videos that I've been doing, I have been a part of a channel since before January. It's called Pass the Camera. It's 5 people that are talking back and forth, basically. It's just a daily video. One person on Monday, one person on Tuesday, I'm on Wednesday, then another person. I suggest you go check it out if you enjoy people talking about stuff that they don't really know what they're talking about. If you enjoy random stuff, existential crises, talking about fantasy, talking about literary fiction, poetry, random stuff, craftiness, things like that, I suggest you go check it out, because I'm really proud of everybody that's doing it. I can't really say that I'm confident in the videos that I put up, but I am proud of them. I'm proud of what everybody else is doing on that channel, and I'm very proud to be a part of it, and I suggest you go check it out because it's awesome and I love it. And I will see you in the next video with the next book. Bye-bye.